Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, sports, pop culture, social media, news, everything really depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is an old friend. He is the bassist of a band called We Were Sharks. Their new single and new music video for Shameless is out right now. We are talking to Matt Sears. Matt, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you so much, man. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, man. It's good to see you. It's always an exciting time when a band puts out a single, but you're also putting out the single for people to listen, but there's also a music video that comes out as well. It's cool. It's kind of like a tag team a little bit.
Yeah. Actually, so the video thing was a little bit harder to pull off because we had to do it during these unsure times of 2020. Mm-hmm. And so we're really happy that came to fruition. We worked with Yeah Films. Miguel was super nice and his team were fantastic. We had Paige Fosk, who was helping us with choreography and stuff like that on the video. If you're into a little dance crew, then this video will be for you. Absolutely.
No, for sure. For people that have kind of known you around the Ottawa area, knows that you are someone that really, like a lot of people, you really kind of hone in and dial in when you're making music and when you're learning things. Like, music's always been a big part of your life, you know what I mean? I will say to my viewers, like, Matt Sears is one of the most talented musicians I've ever known.
When have you ever mentioned me to your viewers? But I respect the compliment. Thank you very much.
It's been crazy. I just talked about you with Mikey LaBelle, who was in Of Reverie and a Skylar Drive and Horcrux, because yeah, of course. But like, no, so my point is, I mean, like, is that safe to say that's a big part of Matt Sears' life, just kind of experimenting, whether it's with guitar, whether it's with bass? I mean, music is like a big part of your life, right, Matt?
If you can't see, I do have a couple of guitars and amps in the background and stuff like that. Yeah, music is a huge part of my life. Actually, funny enough, so I joined Sharks, I guess a year or two ago. I'm losing track of time. But before I joined Sharks, I was kind of falling off the music trail a little bit. And Colin approached me and was like, hey, man, we love you. We know you're capable of doing this. Do you want to join? I said, absolutely. So once I got back into it, everything just went right back up again, writing for the album. Getting to play live shows, music just became such a big part of my life again, and I'm very, very thankful for that. But yeah, absolutely, huge chunk of my life is doing music, and like you said, I try to throw myself into it as much as I can, sometimes to my own detriment. But yeah.
You also you play in a pop, like one can make, like, We Were Sharks, a pop punk band, but Matt Sears like listens to and plays a lot of different genres of music. Do you think that kind of helps you as a musician, like, overall, when you're kind of writing stuff for We Were Sharks, that you're so well-rounded with the music you listen to?
Yeah, I think it gets me out of the box a little bit. I'd say I'm primarily more metal-oriented in guitar and bass playing and stuff like that. That's kind of what I grew up on. But recently I've been getting way more into, like, pop production and, just general rock music and that's kind of the stuff, like, when I was really young growing up listening to, and I kind of fell out of that, and Sharks kind of brought me back into that mind space of, pop, rock, whatever you can throw at it. It was nice that the guys kind of gave me free rein to be like, we know this isn't quite your background, but we like what you do. Can we incorporate a little bit of it into this sort of pop punk sound? And I think it turned out really well. I'm so excited for this album, man. I think it sounds incredible.
I'm so excited to hear. Yeah, Randy was telling me, because I talk to Randy all the time. Randy's a very good and close friend. We go back. I've known Randy from the beginning of the We Were Sharks days, man. Like, yeah. Can you believe the band has been a band for like 10 years? It's been 10 years, man.
Yeah. It's insane. It's unreal.
It's crazy. And I remember, it's funny because, We Were Sharks, played some of the first ever Canadian shows with some really big bands from the scene with, State Champs and the Wonder Years, and that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? To think about. There was talk with Randy that the band is trying to experiment and provide a little bit more pop in some of the songs. You know what I mean? Was that kind of like how did that come to be? You guys were talking just like, listen, bands grow naturally. Let's kind of experiment a little bit. Like how did that come to be a little bit?
So I feel like that actually started a little bit more with Lost Touch. I was living with Colin at the time in their house, and that's where they were doing a lot of pre-production and stuff like that for Lost Touch. And back then, they were sort of moving into the pop direction. We've said as a band, Lost Touch is a lot closer to. Sorry, this next album is a lot closer to Lost Touch than Lost Touch was to Not a Chance. I feel like that was a bigger pop departure, but now we're just all in. We experimented. People seem to like it just fine, and we're like, this sounds sick. Let's get into it. And I think it was a little bit of a sit down and being like, let's get some more pop up in this. It's time to progress as a band. You've been a band for 10 years. It's time to change it up a little bit. And I think none of that would have been possible without the help of Sam Guayana and Paul Marc Rousseau, who did huge writing chunks, co-writing for this album, and definitely just have genius minds that can dissect every little pop melody and harmony and progression and stuff like that. And big thanks to those guys. And
does it ever hit you that Matt Sears is in We Were Sharks now? Like, it's pretty cool. Like me and you being guys in the Ottawa scene over times, like we knew that We Were Sharks was like a heavy hitter in the Ottawa music scene, right? Like it was a big deal.
It still is a big deal, and I still pinch myself every day, man. It's still unreal to get like fan messages being like, "Oh man, I loved your show the other day." I'm like, I play in Sharks. Oh my god.
Absolutely.
Especially, sorry, continue.
No, I'm just saying, do you remember those days where we used to just go to shows and just like mess around and have fun in the pit and the mosh pit and stuff? Like those were the days, right, Matt?
Yeah, just hip hop dancing to a North Lane mosh pit. You know how it is. Yes, I do remember.
That's literally what we would do.
Just doing some little Drake moves.
I did a show. I was talking to Mike and Scott from Horcrux. They used to be in a Reverie. Were you at that show, the Christmas show that we did a long time ago of Reverie Amongst Heroes, 13th Floor?
I believe I was at that show, if I'm remembering correctly. That lineup was just insane, though.
That was an insane show. That show had that was a December 1st, 2012. That had almost 300 kids from
insane.
That was crazy.
Ottawa and Montreal was amongst Sears from Montreal. Just semi-local bands. Insane turnout. And very proud of the Ottawa scene that day.
I think you and Ben Daw were doing you were helping out with merch or stuff. I don't know. I think there was.
Oh yeah, so I was actually helping to tech for of Reverie that day, and I think I did a terrible job.
I remember seeing you at that show. I'm just kind of but Matt Sears has always been kind of around helping out bands. You were somewhere. You know what I mean?
I always gotta be somewhere, man. I gotta be sneaking around in the shadows somewhere.
But the thing is, I just spoke to someone about this. I mean, you are, when I feel the one thing I kind of liked about you is you just your support was just insane for bands. You were always there for people. And in a scene where it doesn't happen often. And there's Matt Sears, you know what I mean? If your band needs help getting tuned, if a band needs kind of a sound check, if a band needs something done, you were there for them. That is awesome, man. I just want my viewers to know that, man. You were a big supporter. You'd be at all the shows.
Thanks,
you kind of has anyone ever told you that? Man, you were one of our first supporters and stuff.
Sometimes maybe not so much supporter, but I've definitely been thanked for helping out with multitudes of things, with shows, with just general hangs, and I like to be friends first before being a laborer. But the funny thing is I also got into music production and stuff like that, and I started helping friends out with that if they needed some demos done. I actually did pre-production for Sharks before Lost Touch. And also did a Premonition. I helped out with their album and stuff like that too. And so, if you're in the Ottawa area and you need an extra set of ears or a little bit of help with anything, just reach out to your boy Matty.
Well, I wanted to kind of talk because I know you're someone that the musicianship is incredible with you, but you're also kind of always experimenting and you're looking at trends and everything. What are you noticing about how? It's a two-part question. One, about how music is being consumed
Hmm.
and how music is being created. Are there any trends in the last couple of years that you're noticing?
I feel like the biggest trend that I've been noticing, at least in consummation wise, that's not the word I was going for. The way it's being consumed is, I find people are having way shorter attention spans.
Yep.
So basically, your music needs to have a very big and quick impact. I think that's a big thing with TikTok on the rise and stuff like that. You need those little big snippets of either hard hitting lyrics or huge riffs that people just like can groove out to in 7 seconds, and then that's all you need. That's your big break can be from that 7 seconds. Um, so yeah, TikTok and stuff like that. Spotify, people just get you on a playlist. Sometimes they don't even get through the whole entire song. They're on to the next one and stuff like that.
The
So basically,
playlists have really helped We Were Sharks, eh, man?
oh, insanely. I don't think we'd be where we are right now if it wasn't for Spotify playlists.
It's insane.
Um,
Like I was telling Randy, I mean, 70,000 people a month listen to We Were Sharks on Spotify. Is that not crazy?
that's insane to me. So I only know like 4 people. This is insane.
Oh man, yeah. The attention span thing is interesting. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Also, to the second part of your question about at least making music, I
Yeah.
find that in this day and age, at least with technology, it's easier and easier to do things remotely, which for some bands I think is a great thing. Like I know that was a new thing with Sharks when we were all writing separately, and some of the guys were just not used to doing that, and so it was a little bit of a transition period. But I know like some older bands, like they just have to get in a room. They have to be in a room together to write music. And I feel like it's a little bit hard, especially with what's going on right now, to get everybody together in a safe environment. So if I feel like the biggest thing with creating music now is you really have to grasp the new technology changes.
Yep.
And that helps if infinitely with creating albums, creating singles and stuff like that, is to be able to work independently as well as collaboratively.
What I've also noticed too, which is very interesting, is you mentioned Spotify playlists. They've been huge for We Were Sharks. I think a lot of other things that have been kind of huge for bands like We Were Sharks is, a lot of, obviously, like we're in the age now where like Netflix and streaming services, like people are watching TV shows all the time.
Yeah.
What I love is like when you hear a song on a TV show and you're like, I never heard of this song before. This is an amazing song. I want to find out what this song is, and you find out that song. That is like the best thing of all time.
That is the most
show-
rewarding feeling ever when you get that song, for sure.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? That happens a lot, right? Like they're putting
yeah.
like Outer Banks was a show on Netflix that just exploded, and there were like so many of the songs that if you go on YouTube, the music video, it's like I'm here from Outer Banks. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Coming here from such and such. Yeah, absolutely.
it's crazy the discovery of art. Like there's so many, but like, is it also a testament how many amazing bands and artists there are? Like the musicianship is incredible.
It's unfortunately for us, it's a very difficult market to break into right now because of there's so much talent, and a 9-year-old in their parents' garage can make a banging record, and and people can pick it up on SoundCloud or wherever you can just like find music really quickly. And so basically talent is everywhere, and it's easier than ever to find it, and I love it. It's so sick. Makes it so hard for me to work, but it's so sick.
Absolutely. Are you kind of one of, because like I always thought about it, you know what I mean? Like you could literally, if you wanted to, and a lot of people don't have this opportunity, so you gotta not take it for granted. You're Matt Sears, you don't take it for granted. You're one of the nicest guys I know on this planet.
Thank
No,
you.
but it's just like it's one of those things where you could like write music, you could produce music, you could facilitate music, like you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised if you were like, "Hey man, I write TV theme songs now." Like, no, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like Wade McNeil from Alex on Fire, I just interviewed him.
That was the first person I thought of when you said that.
He's doing
like,
scores.
Exactly.
Have you ever thought about like I'm sure that could happen with you one day. You never know.
Definitely crossed my mind. I've actually had my girlfriend ask me. It's like, yeah, you should do like anime intros with like super heavy songs and stuff.
Well, why not?
Yeah, it's
why not?
it's more a question of can I devote what little time I have anymore to doing that sort of stuff? And even though it does seem pretty easy to dive into, just little subsections of music and going into TV scores and stuff like that, I feel like that sort of stuff is so much more atmospheric and contextual And I feel like there's so much more around that I haven't gotten into. Like
Yeah.
doing this music stuff, even production or bands, I've been at this for coming up on 8 years now. And so it's been a long time coming. I'm only here because of the legwork I put in. It feels almost like I'd have to restart if I was getting into that. Of course, I have a little bit of background knowledge,
Yep.
but it is a whole new, kettle of fish. And so I'd love to get into it. I just need to really hunker down. And like we said, I have to get in there 100%. I don't like to half-ass anything.
No, absolutely. But it's just like, it just excites me of like all the stuff that like with, your experience with so many different genres of music and so many interests you as a person have. It excites me of some of the other things you could do. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Like there's so many doors open right now thanks to Sharks and other things I've done. That it's just like, it's such a unique position to be in where people are like, oh yeah, you should do TV scores. I'm like, no one would have told me this 10 years ago.
But it's just like, to me, man, like me interviewing a lot of, actors and directors and writers on my show of like really big movies. It's like the creation of like a movie like really interests me these days. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
yeah,
it's interesting, is it not?
Oh, it's super interesting. There's so many moving parts that you need the right people for, and you need to have like collective vision, and it's just such a like, a monument to teamwork, and having that finished product and having all those names on it is, yeah, movies and TV is just such a wild industry. My sister actually, she does a little bit of film and television, and she recently just dipped her feet into directing. And I got a little bit of an earful of like, oh my God, this is the most stressful thing in my life. Like, you have to keep track of everything.
Well, you know what, man? I'm actually, when I finish my short horror film scripts that might be made, you know what I mean?
Nice.
I'll see what's going on with Matt Sears. Maybe a score.
Give me a ring, buddy.
Absolutely. Matt, seriously, man, thank you so much for taking the time, dude. This was awesome to chat with you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you reaching out, man. It's good to see you. Hopefully we can grab a beverage or two once this whole lockdown thing goes away.
Hopefully, man. So people can follow the band wherever you follow bands on social media, and they can listen to the band wherever they listen to music, basically.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique name. If you look up We Were Sharks anywhere, it's bound to pop up. I can't remember the specifics. It's usually We Were Sharks Band, stuff like that on Instagram, Facebook. Twitter, all that fun stuff. So yes, please go follow. Please watch Shameless and give it a listen on wherever you listen to music. That would benefit us so much in these trying times.
And where can people follow you on social media?
Me specifically. So my username is the Cat Matt. That's where you'll find me on Instagram and Twitter. Don't ask why it came up. It just happened. I sleep a lot. You can add me on Facebook, Matthew Sears, not Matt Sears. That's my old one. Don't do it. But yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, seriously, thank you so much, dude. This was awesome.
Yeah, no worries, man. Anytime. So good to see you.
Yeah, so good to see you too. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Matt Sears of We Were Sharks and Petey Pete's signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.